Hello, and welcome to the University of Southern California's online Master of Communication Management webinar. My name is Andy Humphrey. I'm an enrollment advisor with the program, and I'll be your host today. First off, we're going to start off by covering a few ground rules. So please make sure that you're in listen-only mode. Do ask your questions by typing them in the Q&A box, and we will make a copy of the presentation and the recording available after the event. Just to give you a quick agenda here, we're going to be hearing from Neil Texiara. He's the Director of Distance Learning, and he'll be kind of giving us the about USC and a little bit of background on the program. Following that, we will hear from the faculty, both Dr. Rebecca Weintraub as well as Dr. Curtis. And following that, I will actually be taking some questions and covering the admissions requirements. We do appreciate you attending today, and we're looking forward to having an excellent event. Neil, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you now.
Great. Thank you very much, Andy. I'm delighted to talk to you all about the Online Master of Communication Management program. And let's start off by talking a little bit about USC. So USC was founded back in 1880 when LA was just a little dusty town that welcomed the railroad only 4 years prior. And it has grown to become one of the world's leading private research universities. USC is now an anchor institution in the Pacific Rim and is recognized as a global center for arts, culture, technology, and international trade. USC enrolls more international students than any other university in the U.S. and offers extensive opportunities. We have a tradition of integrating liberal and professional education, and we foster a vibrant culture of public service that encourages students to cross academic as well as geographic boundaries in their pursuit of knowledge. USC has also been a pioneer in distance education, offering master's level classes to professional engineers via satellite video as early as 1972. The USC Annenberg School is proud to continue that pioneering tradition by offering its first fully online degree to communication professionals all over the world. So now let's talk about why you should study at USC Annenberg. You'll notice that we've shared Ambassador Walter H. Annenberg's mission statement from the dedication of the school back in 1971. This statement has remained at the core of our institution, has guided USC Annenberg to a place of leadership among all schools of communication and journalism in the world. Today, USC Annenberg is renowned for its innovative approach to communication, teaching, and research, and serves as a hub for discussion among scholars and professionals in communication, journalism, public policy, media, and education. The Online Master of Communication Management enables the USC Annenberg School to deliver that same high-quality educational experience in a rigorous and innovative way, and we're very excited to see so many of you attend the session to learn more about it. But there's more to being a USC Trojan than just our innovative degree programs. So on our next slide, we'll talk a bit about the Annenberg Alumni Network and the USC Trojan family. That sounds a little bit like a branding thing, but the USC Trojan family is a very real entity. It consists of 34,000 Trojan alums all over the world, and the slogan actually is lifelong and worldwide. So even though you may be coming from a different undergrad besides USC, I guarantee when you leave our program, you will be a Trojan for life. There are more than 15,000 Annenberg alumni around the globe. I'm one of them, and I can tell you that the network is incredibly strong. We host a number of our online students on campus every year for homecoming, and the majority of our online students come to campus for commencement. Our alums enjoy strong links to industry leaders and communication professionals. You'll see pictured in the slide Carolyn Leach, who's one of our alums. She's the Vice President of Communications at DirecTV, and she comes once a year to our campus to attend alumni events and to speak to our students. Those sessions are also available online for our online students to attend, and we expect that we'll have her again and many other of our online alums talk about our online programs. To conclude my portion of the presentation, I would like to briefly share USC's accreditation and ranking information, which reflect the university and the school's commitment to excellence in higher education. USC and the Online Master of Communication Management program have both been reviewed and accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges within the past 5 years, and USC is currently ranked 23rd among national universities by U.S. News and World Report. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Rebecca Weintraub, who will discuss the program's curriculum, faculty, and some of the learning and career opportunities you'll have as an Annenberg student.
Hi there. I'm delighted to be chatting with you. So let's go to the next slide and talk about what the Master of Communication Management degree is. So this is a management degree with an emphasis on communication. The idea here is that you will be looking at the world of management, but through the communication. I hate it when I can't find the word. Through the communication vehicle. You'll be studying with professors who have both academic background. All of your professors will have doctorates. Your section instructors will all have doctorates. You'll be collaborating with colleagues who have their own work experience to share. And one of the things that we've found is that the integration of people from different backgrounds, from different kinds of work experience, adds an incredible richness to the learning process. Our students have been telling us practically from the beginning that they're able to utilize the material that they've studied exactly the next day in their work. They're taking communication planning processes and applying it to issues that they're having. They're taking the research methodologies that they're learning and using those in their jobs. So this is not a program that you sort of have to wait until you graduate to be able to utilize what you're learning. You're going to take it immediately back to the working ranch. So what are the classes that you're going to be taking that will give you all of this knowledge? Here's our curriculum. You take 2 classes per semester, and we will be the first to say that that will be a bit of a time management challenge, but we have learned that the people that we admit are more than up to managing this. The first class is 500. And that is managing communication. It's a macro look at communication as a process inside organizations. Communication Management 540 is your research methodology class. We believe that it is really important to understand the basics of research methodology, and Dr. Curtis will tell you a little bit more about that when I'm finished speaking. 502, Strategic Corporate Communication, is probably the best class in the entire program. I should know, it's my class. This is a class where you learn the process of creating a strategic communication approach to a business issue. 505, Communication in Work Settings, is a micro look at organizational communication, where you look at supervisory, subordinate communication, the theories and principles around organizational communication. 508, Communicating Strategy and Change, looks at the importance and the application of communication to achieving organizational strategies and change management. Communication Management 510, Communication Attitudes, Values, and Behaviors, is our course on influence. This looks at the process by which people are persuaded. We look at it through the lens of advertising, but really what we're studying here is the influence literature. Communication Management 541 is our grounded marketing communication class. That's really rather a fun one. At the end of the class, all of the sections which have been working basically as ad agencies throughout the course of the semester are pitted against each other in terms to present their results of their work, and the judges are graduates of the program who are working in marketing communication. 555 is our online marketing communication class, which is where we look at communicating through the digital marketing and looking at that kind of marketing communication. 556 looks at the international marketing communication world, no pun intended, and what does it mean to be marketing into different cultures, into different environments. 587, audience analysis, takes a deep dive into market research so that you can understand the way what is going on inside consumers and how do you determine what you need to do. 597A and B are your practicums. Those are the classes where you are working on your portfolio piece, the analysis and the research around a topic that you're interested in. 599, Principles of Public Relations, is for our new professionals cohort, and it looks at the grounding of PR, what it's based on, and how it works. So who are the people that are going to be teaching you all of this material? So let me introduce you to our faculty. As you can see here on the list, they are a diverse group of people. They all have PhDs. They are all full-time USC professors. They are distinguished scholars and researchers. You can find articles and books by Michael Cody, by Andrea Hollingshead, by Matthew Curtis, by Paolo Sigismondi, Susan Resnick-West. Dr. Cody was the editor of the Communication Journal. Colleen Keogh, Kimberly Stevens, Susan Resnick-West, and myself all work as consultants to government and private industry and nonprofits. So we bring a range of academic disciplines. Dr. Curtis and Dr. Hollingshead are social psychologists. Dr. Barofio, Dr. Kehoe, Dr. Neff, Dr. Pade, and Dr. Stevens and I all have communication degrees. We have some professors with degrees in economics and organizational development. So there's a variety of backgrounds that we bring into this program. So what are the opportunities that come outside of this work? You'll learn to analyze complex business and communication problems. You'll learn that partially from your coursework, from cases that you'll analyze, but you'll also learn it from the projects that you will do, actually looking at real organizations. You'll develop your critical thinking abilities. Your writing will improve. Presentations and oral advocacy techniques. Now, as you all probably know, in the business world today, decisions are made on the basis of oral argument. And that is a great deal of what you will do inside this inside this program. You'll do it within your groups to make your points. You'll do it within our optional live sessions. You'll do it when you do a taped presentation to your class. And so we think those are all very important skills that for any business professional, but certainly for anybody who claims communication as his or her area of expertise. You'll learn that you can look at the same data and the same information and have very different perspectives and very different ideas for solutions. And those will not always be the same as yours, and sometimes you will find that you have to compromise, and you have to really work to persuade the people that you're working with that your approach is the right one. You'll learn to design communication with a global perspective, and that doesn't just mean worldwide, although that's a piece of it, but with the understanding that there are very many ways that communication can be interpreted, and that's an important element. Our graduates go into management consulting, training and development. We have people in public relations, advertising, promotions, a variety of business and marketing jobs. Basically, there is no element of the business world that you won't find the work that you're doing in this program to be of use. Now, obviously, you're on this line because you're interested in online learning. So let me tell you why I am a major fan of online learning. And let me preface this by saying that I developed the first online class for communication management in 2003. Now, this was one class, so it was obviously for the on-campus cohort. But I realized out of that process that to a great extent, online learning is richer than face-to-face. I still teach face-to-face. I love it. But what any professor will tell you is that lecture and discussion is a very inefficient way of exchanging knowledge. Online learning is based on a pull system, whereas a lecture is pushing the information into the students. Online learning requires that you pull the information, if you will, out of your computer. The technology in 2014 is so much more efficient and effective than it was in 2003. You're going to find that your interactions with your others in your cohorts are stronger and deeper and easier in some respects than they would be on campus. My on-campus students come to class at 6:30, they leave at 9:30, and they only interact with people when they're in that classroom. That will not be your case. You will be interacting via Google Chat, via Skype, via our Fuse sessions, via email, via a variety of tools and techniques that I probably don't even know about, because our students are very, very engaged. And we have lots and lots of anecdotes from our graduates about the relationships that they've built. In fact, Carolyn Leach, who you saw as a graduate, has an employee working for her who is a graduate of the program. They both went to the on-campus program, and they just recently hired a graduate of the online program to work in internal communications at DirecTV. So there are a variety of different kinds of networking elements. All of your coursework will be completed asynchronously. While we have live sessions, most of them are optional because we know that we're in different time zones. A few of your classes will have one or two classes that are required to be attended to in the live session, but you'll know about those far, far in advance. And so far that doesn't seem to be a big issue for our students. In fact, when we started, I didn't particularly want to have live sessions. I felt that online learning by its very nature should be asynchronous. I had faculty who felt differently, and so we tried it, and what we found out is that the students really like it. In fact, we had a few classes that didn't have live sessions, and the students made it very clear that they thought that was a mistake. So now every one of our classes has some number of live sessions. Probably the best part about online learning is your lectures live in your computer. So if you've forgotten something or you're working on something and you're trying to remember what that point was, you can go back. You're going to use the methodologies that you're studying in 540 throughout the program. One of the best elements of this, our students tell us, is they can go back into the work from 540, say, because you'll take that in your first semester, in their second or third, and say, oh yeah, how do you make sure that you've got the right survey questions? And so that becomes very, very helpful. So I think online learning is phenomenal. It is certainly the best way to get people who live all over the world, but primarily outside of Los Angeles, to come to the communication management program. It's the reason we developed the online program, and as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best elements that we have. So you probably want to know a little bit more about the courses that you're going to take. So allow me to introduce my colleague, Dr. Matthew Curtis. His PhD is in social psychology. While he teaches a wide range of classes for us, he is an extremely effective instructor of research methodologies, and he received teaching awards at USC for teaching methodologies to undergraduates, which is an extremely difficult task. Dr. Curtis, they're all yours.
Thank you for that introduction. So hello. First, I'd like to repeat that earlier welcome from this webinar, and thank you for attending today and your interest in the online MCM program here at USC. I've been teaching now in Annenberg since 2004. And in the last 10 years or so, the MCM online program is one of the most exciting things I've been involved with. The technology available today is very impressive, and it allows us to do some wonderful things in the course space that only a few years ago we couldn't even think of doing them, let alone executing them. And this was one of the reasons that Annenberg delayed launching its online program until relatively recently, because it's only recently the technology's been there to allow us to do what we want to do in our teaching and education. And one of the things we pride ourselves on here in the MCM program is giving you the quality education you expect from an institution such as USC. And we believe that when you finish the program, your experience will be exactly what you hoped it to be in respect to the presentation of materials and the interaction you have with your classmates and the quality of the immersive online experience you get from our program. Rather than focusing on the big pictures of aspects of the degree, because Dr. Weintraub covered those effectively, I'm going to talk in more detail about the two courses I teach in the online program, which is CMGT 540 and 597, and about my areas of speciality. Dr. Weintraub already mentioned I got my degree here at USC, and I liked USC so much I moved 800 yards across campus from the psych department into the Annenberg building. So my PhD is in social psychology, which can be thought of as the study of what the typical person does in a situation, not looking at what the crazy people do, but what the typical people do. And that has a great deal of overlap with communications research. And as Dr. Weintraub mentioned, there's a number of faculty, Dr. Cody and Dr. Hollingshead, who also have a background in social psych. So there's a big overlap between communication research and social psychology. The first course I'm going to talk about is the first one listed, CMGT 540. This is the uses of communication research. And it's the first course you take when you start the program, your first semester. And it's an essential foundation course that you're going to use again and again throughout the program, and arguably the course and the class that's going to distinguish you the most in the workplace. In 540, you learn how to understand research methods. And you might be wondering what the point of research methods is or how it's going to be useful to you in your workplace. And you never really fully grasp that until you've gone through the 540 process, but I can give you an overview to you right now to help you try to understand how much it can impact your daily work life. So as I mentioned, the initial reaction of many students is, why do I want to take research methods? Why do I want that as my first course? That's not what I want to take a communications degree for. But what we do in this class is we learn how to collect data. We collect this data via a variety of research methods, which we'll see on the next slide in a few minutes' time. We'll learn how to analyze this data, then interpret our analysis into kind of everyday English, removing it from the numbers and the statistical terms, and use our analysis to make concrete recommendations. And what you've likely experienced in your own professional lives is that nearly anyone can have ideas. And when you go to your work meetings and business meetings, you'll have lots of people frequently sharing these ideas and giving their opinions. But very few people can provide concrete data which allow you to explain how and why your ideas should be supported. And that's what this research course does, the uses of communication research. If you want to pitch to your boss why you should have more products available online, or want to pitch to your boss why commercial A is going to sell more products than commercial B, or why you should open your new location in New Hampshire as opposed to New Jersey, this course allows you to understand how to collect data, analyze that data, and present it in a format that's going to persuade your boss that your opinion, your recommendation is the correct one and the one you should go with. Data provides such a strong support for any argument you make, and it also provides you a safety net on which to rely. And that's what this class does. It gives you the ability to design effective data collection techniques, take that data, whether it's from focus groups, surveys, experiments, or another type of method, analyze that data statistically, qualitatively, interpret that data, and make concrete real-world recommendations. And that is a very valuable skill set to have in the workplace to give you more confidence in your opinions and to allow you to present a much more persuasive argument to those around you. So 540 is the first class you take in the program. The next class, CMGT 597, is the second class you take in the program. It's the last class you take in the program, sorry. 597 is the last class you take, and this is an extension of 540, but it's also a continuation of the ideas that have captured your attention in the other classes you take. What you engage in 597 is you individually select a research project of your choice. So you ideally pick something you're passionate about, something you can leverage effectively in your current workplace, you pick a topic that you want to learn more about, study extensively, and ideally create a solution to a problem that's going to help you professionally, personally, socially. So as some concrete examples of what past students have done, we had a student last semester who's working to improve the connection between her company and the customers. So she engaged in extensive data collection via surveys with the sales reps of the company to work out how they're pitching the products, and interviewed sales reps. She collected survey data from customers of the company and looked at any discrepancies between the expectations of what the customers wanted and how the sales reps were presenting the ideas, identified the shortfalls between the message the company was communicating to the customers and what the customers wanted, and she identified the problematic areas of communication and interpreted the data and what the customers wanted to provide concrete recommendations to her boss and to the sales team about how they should be pitching the products more effectively to the customers to boost sales of the product. We've had students engage in research projects where they've identified a current problem in their workplace. There was a student 2 semesters ago whose company was continually churning out newsletters, but they were aware that the employees of the company were not reading these newsletters, and the leadership of the company believed the newsletters were providing very important information and couldn't understand why the employees of the company were not reading these newsletters. So the student, with support of the company, contacted all the employees of the company. I think it was about over 5,000 employees, had to complete a survey with the backing of the company leadership to collect data on what the employees wanted from the newsletter, why they didn't like the current newsletter, and again, the student was able to not only collect that data, but interpret that data statistically and qualitatively, make concrete real-world recommendations to the leadership of the company to then create and craft a more effective newsletter to be sent out to the employees, which had a much greater acceptance rate and positive response from the employees of the workforce, and allowed for more effective passing of communication and company strategies from the leadership level of the company down to the wider workforce. We've had students engage in personal projects where they've looked at solving problems in their kind of personal lives. A concrete example of this would be a student who worked in a volunteer organization in the local community, and they wanted to identify ways to make their local organization more effective at providing services to the community. So again, they collected data, analyzed that data, interpreted that data to identify the shortfalls and shortcomings of the current performance to allow them to then implement concrete real-world solutions to the problems identified. So if we can move on to the next slide, I can talk you through some kind of concrete aspects of the 2 courses. So what are the critical skills you learn? Primarily in 540, which you then extend in 597. As I mentioned, it's the ability to conduct and apply research. We cover 4 main methods in 540, which is focus groups, surveys, content analysis, and experiments. And you might think one or more of these have no real-world application to you in your current workplace. But as you work through the course, one of the goals of the course is to allow you to, as Dr. Weintraub mentioned, to apply the material you're learning in your courses that week daily in your workplace. So there'll be frequent examples in 540 of how you can apply and make use of these methods and the data and the interpretation and understanding what's going on in your current workplace. The analyze data for decision making, we have to cover statistics. I realize stats is not a passion of many people in the program or considering applying to the program, but statistics, again, just even that basic grasp of statistics and ability to comprehend and interpret numbers really distinguishes you from your competition in the workplace. And anything you can do to make yourself better than the competition is going to help you in the long run professionally. It allows you to effectively synthesize information. Again, as I've been touching upon in my prior examples, just getting the data and understanding is not sufficient. You've got to be able to communicate that data and communicate what you found succinctly and appropriately in an effective manner to those who need it to allow there to be real-world change. So what are the learning outcomes you achieve from taking 540? And again, you're extending these in your final class, the 597 class, allows you to understand problems, and comprehend these problems in appropriate ways to then deconstruct them to allow you to ask the appropriate questions, to collect the appropriate data. There's so much data out there probably already on problems you're interested in, but whether that data is appropriate, sometimes simply the sales figures or the sales data is not sufficient. You need to break it down by region, or break it down by customer, or break it down by social economic status of the customer. There's so many different ways of passing that data and fine-tuning it and putting out the appropriate bits. One of the problems we suffer in a variety of domains in our professional and personal lives these days is there's just so much data bombarding us, and the skill set 540 and 597 give you is the ability to be able to focus and pinpoint on what data is relevant, and then take that data to analyze, synthesize, and interpret it in the appropriate ways. So as the third point touches upon there, it's interpreting the research to generate solutions. What your boss wants from you, or what you want if you're self-employed or doing your own startup, is that you want to be able to generate solutions to the problems and then effectively communicate those solutions. It's no good having a wonderful idea if you can't communicate your findings and your interpretations in a way that's going to be useful to those around you. And that's why at the end of the 597 course, we have students engage in a presentation where they communicate in a succinct 5-minute presentation the key aspects and takeaways of their research. And 597 is such a complex procedure that many students are generating 30, 40, 50, 60-page papers, but condensing down that abundance of data into a 5-minute presentation that's tailored to your target audience, and you're not focusing on the process, you're focusing in on that presentation on the recommendations and how what you found has a real-world application and use in today's workplace or today's climate or today's volunteer organization, in whatever setting you decided to conduct your research. So that's given you a brief/detailed overview of 2 of the courses. Hopefully it's piqued your interest, and I'll pass it on now to Andy to talk you through the next aspect of the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Curtis. We are going to go ahead and move on into the admissions requirements section. I do want to cover that process and give you guys a very good glimpse into the expectations. So first and foremost, we do have an online application form. There is an $85 application fee that will need to be paid in accompaniment with that. We do require that students have completed their undergraduate degree from an accredited institution, and we do also require that a GRE or GMAT score is submitted. We do have a preference for the GRE. However, if you have taken the GMAT, it is acceptable. Those scores are good for 5 years. Following that, we are looking for a statement of purpose in which an individual will address their interest in USC, the MCM program, and their hopes for after graduation. Following that, the writing sample is an opportunity for a candidate to submit a sample that showcases their skills as a professional. So this is usually the most unique portion of the material submitted, and the admissions advisors are available to provide feedback throughout that process, especially if you're having trouble deciding on what best represents you as a candidate. We also will be requiring an updated resume in order to understand your professional background. And as far as college transcripts goes, I think it's extremely important to state that we are looking for transcripts from each and every institution you have previously attended, even community colleges or courses or colleges where you took only one course. Following that, there is the requirement for 2 letters of recommendation. We will accept academic or professional sources. If you're going to go with a professional letter, we're absolutely looking for either a current or former supervisor or superior. The admissions number is listed here, as well as the contact information for all 3 admissions advisors. I hope that many of you have gotten a chance to speak with us in the past, but if you have not, please do reach out. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you have or even discuss any concerns. So as far as the question and answer section, I'm going to go ahead and see if either Neil or Dr. Weintraub have seen any questions that they'd like to go ahead and address.
We've been answering questions by typing, and which people probably have seen. But one of the questions that was asked was, how long is the program? So the program is 5 semesters. The last semester is just 2 units. It's the second 2 units of 597. It is a very short program, although I promise you it won't feel that way. It is 8 classes. That includes 540 and 597. We require 2 classes a semester, and the reason for that is Otherwise, really, the program just takes way too long, and we find that retention is a real issue. We are, however, not without a certain amount of compassion, and so when work or personal issues arrive, we will allow students to petition for a reduced course load, but that is a temporary situation, and most of our students happily go back to 2 classes a semester. What our students find is that it does take a certain amount of time management, but it is very doable.
Great, thank you. Another question that I see here is coming in right now. Let's see. What is the benefit of this program over an MBA program for those focusing on a career in marketing and promotions?
So an MBA is a different kind of degree. We focus on organizations, business, management through a communication lens. They focus on it through a different kinds of lens. They're looking at finance. They're looking at management from a different perspective. Our marketing classes are varieties of marketing communication and market research, and I would suggest that would be an extremely good basis for someone who's interested in marketing and promotions. If the job you are interested in requires an MBA, the MCM will probably not answer the mail. But if what you're looking for is to be able to create a marketing plan, to develop marketing communication and promotion, to be able to understand and utilize market research, I'm going to cough now, I would suggest that the MCM would be a great degree for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Weintraub. One other question that was actually specifically for you as well was, will students take all of the courses that were listed on the curriculum screen that you had covered?
So all of our students take the research methodology class. The core class, which is 500. They take 502, which is the strategic communication class. They take the strategy and communication class. They take the global marketing and the integrated marketing strategies. Then they will take one of 4 classes. They'll either take the digital marketing class, the communication and work settings, audience analysis, or 510, which is our influence class, depending upon what class is being offered when they get to their 4th semester. So they can't take all of the classes because we have too many, but they will take. But the bulk of the students take those classes. Now, I should say that that applies to our experienced professionals cohort. New professionals, who are people who have less than 5 years of work experience, take, instead of 2, they take one of the marketing classes and one of the organizational communication classes, and they take Introduction to Public Relations and Public Relations Writing classes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It seems like we've got another really good question here, and that is, does the MCM degree offered by USC Annenberg lend well to an individual who's considering seeking a PhD after graduation in communications?
Yeah, no. This is considered a terminal degree. It's a professional degree, and we do not give you the skill sets that you need for a doctorate. Now, that said, we do have students who do go on to a doctorate after the MCM program. The difference is, however, that they rarely get credit for the work that they did in the master's program because our classes are so applied. Now, let me say that most of the people who want to get a PhD when they are farther along in their life cycle Most people who go through for a PhD get it in their 20s or maybe early 30s, want to get the PhD because they want to teach. And to those people, I always say that if you want to teach after you have retired from your work experience, you're not going to be hired because you have a doctorate. You will need the master's degree, but you'll be hired because you will be teaching from your work experience. And so if you want to teach at the junior college level or even at the state college level or liberal arts college level, you can do that with the master's degree.
Thank you, Dr. Weintraub. There are a few questions here that are more logistical in nature surrounding the admissions process. So as far as the 3.0 GPA, there are some questions surrounding that. We do typically look for a 3.0 or above. However, we do consider the entire application of each candidate, so it is possible to apply with under a 3.0. The other question was the score surrounding the GRE. So we are typically looking for right around a 297, and there's definitely going to be a strong focus on the analytical writing section, as this is a writing-intensive program. Following that, there's just another kind of logistical question surrounding tuition and just the semesters themselves. So the program is broken up into spring, summer, and fall. Those are 15 weeks per semester, and students do attend them consecutively. As far as the overall length of the program, that then does bring you in right at about 20 months. So I believe that's most of the admissions questions that I'm seeing here.
Oh, can I add one more thing about the GRE? We do find that students are very concerned about the GRE. Somebody wanted to know if the GRE requirement was waived. No, it's never waived. We waive the GRE only for people who already have a master's degree. We feel that the GRE is very important, but we also know that if you've been out of school for more than 5 or 6 years, that your GRE testing abilities have gone down, which is why we look at the entire application. Your statement of purpose is really, really important. We want to understand why you want to do this program. It's also a way for us to evaluate your writing in addition to the other kinds of writing that you will submit. If you've been working for 15, 20 years, we're looking at the entirety of your application. So you're coming to a Tier 1 research university for a master's degree. We expect the GRE, but we do not admit you on the basis of the GRE. We do not deny you on the basis of the GRE alone. We look at the entire application. My advice is take a deep breath, sign up, and go take the test.
Great, thank you. It appears that this question actually would also be well suited for Dr. Weintraub. The question is surrounding individuals who are interested in pursuing journalism and whether or not the MCM program would be a good option for them.
Journalism, if somebody is a journalist and wants to expand their background in terms of how organizations work, and marketing, absolutely. But we don't teach journalism. USC does have a wonderful master's degree in journalism. It's not online yet, but we have people in every conceivable kind of field, from line management to public relations to consulting to internal communications, to marketing communications. It's the gamut. So I think, but it really depends on what you want to learn. I mean, if you want to learn what we teach, there is no better institution. But if you want to learn something that we don't teach, then you probably shouldn't come to us.
There is a question here that's actually been asked a couple of times, and this one also would be good for Dr. Weintraub. Approximately how many hours per week can a student expect to invest in their studies?
So we say about 24 hours a week, 12 hours per class, but it's going to be highly variable. There will be some weeks where you'll have more work, some weeks where you'll have less. A lot of it depends on how rapidly you read and study. You'll be working in groups. There is no question but that time management will matter, that your life will be work, school, and the occasional hello to your family. But it's a relatively short program. You won't be going through that for much more than a year and a half. But because by the time you're in your last 2 units, you've got it all under control. But what our students tell us is, and I'm the one that hands our graduates their diplomas, and they tell me with great repetition that they were glad it was a difficult program. It really felt like they accomplished something. They learned a lot, and they were proud of themselves. But I'd add an extra 24 hours to the week.
Perfect. Thank you for that. There's a question here that we receive quite often in the admissions office, and I would love if Dr. Weintraub could address it. The question is, are there specific focus areas within the program?
There are in the on-campus program, but not in the online program. The online program for experienced professionals focuses on marketing communication, organizational and strategic communication, and research methods. For the new professional, it focuses on public relations, marketing communication, and that's basic public relations, marketing communication, and organizational communication, and research methods. For the new professional, we develop the program that way because when you're just starting out, you need the ability to pivot. You don't know if you're going to be going into marketing or public relations or internal communication, corporate communication, and this gives them the ability to take advantage of whatever opportunities face them. For more experienced professionals, we find that they need greater depth, both in marketing communication, no matter what you're no matter what you're doing, and organizational and strategic.
Andy, I noticed that there was a question from some international students, potentially. 2 questions, one involving whether or not international students are able to attend the program. And the answer is yes. We do have international students who have already been in our program and have graduated. We've had students from China, Korea. We have a student this semester from Azerbaijan. We have a student who's about to graduate who's from South Africa. And we've had a number of U.S. Service members who have traveled and been stationed in places like Afghanistan and Iraq and have completed their degree from their remote stations. So yes, this program is open to international students. If you do want to apply, you will need to take the TOEFL. It's an English proficiency test. But other than that, most of the application materials are the same.
Perfect. Thank you, Neil. Are there any other questions that you may have noticed that I perhaps did not?
The question is, what's the minimum score for the GRE? It's 297, but we can admit people conditionally with a lower GRE, and all that means is that you have to get a B in your first 2 classes, and students do not seem to have an issue around that. Did you answer the TOEFL question?
I did. I answered the TOEFL question.
I think that was the answer for that one. Perfect. A question just came up that actually was asked right at the very beginning of the presentation, and that is, can students in the online program ever switch to the on-campus program?
Not easily. We have done it in very, very, very rare cases. The programs are not fungible, although it is the same degree. The delivery method is very different, and we do not encourage people to do that.
Okay, perfect. There is a question here that is also similar to some of the others, and it basically pertains to the online live sessions that you had mentioned. And I know that you had said that students do have plenty of advance notice. However, there's some questions just surrounding the time of day that those are usually offered, and kind of just when within the semester they may actually take place?
So when the courses that have required live sessions, which are not all of the courses, they are usually at the end of the semester, and we refer to time as Trojan time, which is Pacific time, whether it's daylight or standard. So they are usually at 6:00 p.m. Trojan time, and that seems to work more or less for most of our students. As we get more and more international students, obviously that becomes a bit of a challenge, but most of our students seem to be able to make that work. The bulk of the live sessions are optional, and they are always taped. So students have the opportunity to go over them when it is convenient for them, and and if they have a question or something around the topic, they can either have one of their colleagues who will be attending the live session, ask the question for them, or they can send it to their section instructor in advance.
Perfect. Thank you for that. We have a new question here, and it kind of surrounds the breakdown of the workload, and it basically pertains to how many tests, how often are the tests, how many papers, and just kind of the expectation a student should have of the workload itself.
So we don't do tests in graduate school, but we certainly do papers. But what we do most of is group projects. And so you will be spending a lot of time in groups, some of which you get to pick and some of which you get assigned, working on issues, on cases, on plans, on a variety of elements. And we do that in part because all the data show that groups do actually produce better work than individuals. Second of all, because that's the way work gets done in the real world. And third, that it's important to learn to work with a variety of people, even those that maybe would not be your first choice. But we do have papers. There's no question about it. And our papers are in APA style.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Dr. Weintraub. I believe that we've answered most of the questions I've seen here. Neil, are there any other questions that you've received?
Neil is reminding me to just make it very clear that we have two different tracks. One for new professionals, 5 years and below, and work experience, and then our experienced professionals who have more experience than that. In the experienced professional cohort, their average age is 37. Their average years of work experience is 11. And so they bring a different perspective into the program. The new professionals are just starting out, and our goal there is to give them some great underpinnings of both academic and applied knowledge to make their job search and the early stages of their career more effective.
Perfect. Thank you. Once again, I will just toss it to Neil to see if there are any questions you received that we do need to cover still.
I'll just make one quick addition about being part of USC Annenberg and USC in general. A lot of people are interested to know whether or not they can come to campus, they can participate in events, and the answer is yes. As an online student, you have access to resources not just online, but physically here on campus. You'll have access to all the library resources. You'll be invited to events. Every year, as I mentioned before, we host a homecoming event for all of our online students, specifically for them. And Dr. Weintraub throws a great party. And
I raised my hand. You can't see me. If we had any doubt about having designed the online program that we wanted to design, that we envisioned, all my doubts went out the door at the first homecoming session. So if you've ever gone to a high school reunion or a college reunion and you see people scream and race across the room and throw their arms around each other, as if they were long-lost brothers and sisters. That's the way our students greet each other at homecoming. And these are people who have never met each other before. But they've been working intimately together online for 1 semester, 2 semesters, 3 semesters, and it's extraordinary. The one other thing that I will tell you that is a little bit annoying to me at homecoming and also at commencement is Dr. Curtis is the rock star. And I will see him surrounded by students bringing their husbands and wives and children to meet Dr. Curtis. And it hurts my feelings. I am not the rock star, but it is a testament to how effective an instructor he is on an extremely difficult topic. I'll hand this back to Neil to talk more about all of the ways we connect with our students.
So in addition to the homecoming reception, the first year we did it, students had been in the program for 2 terms already, and we had more than half of our entire online population come out, some of them flying out from across the country to be there and meet their classmates. Then they attended the tailgate and homecoming game the next day, and again, there are many other events that even if you cannot attend live, for example, career development webinars or sessions. I mentioned that Caroline attends once a year to be on a panel of alumni talking to our comm management students. That's available as an online webinar as well. So you'll have opportunities to come to campus, to access physical resources, to meet us. Anytime you're here on USC's campus in LA, let us know. We love to take our students out to lunch. We like to meet them in person. So you will definitely feel part of the Trojan community. You will be part of the Trojan family from the very first day.
Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting very close to 8 o'clock. It appears that we've answered most of the general questions at this point. Some of the more specific questions we'll do our best to connect with you offline. I would like to make sure that everyone is aware that myself, Brad, and Heidi are all available to answer questions for you if something comes up later that you did not think of now. In fact, I also want to point out, knowing that everyone probably has a very busy schedule, that all of us, in fact, have a link in the signature of our email where you can actually schedule an appointment, and that way we can hopefully avoid any kind of phone tag and make the best use of both your and our time. Once again, we're definitely looking forward to answering any other questions. Please reach out to us tomorrow or in the near future, and we'd be happy to help.